What up, everybody? In BMF Season 4, Episode 7, Loco showed up in Atlanta, waiting for Meech to talk to him about expanding to Los Angeles. Loco mentioned to Meech that his boss, named Manuel, wanted to meet Meech, and that Loco's told Manuel all about Meech and how nobody moves the work faster than him. So this shows how much Loco trusts Meech, introducing him to his boss. And something interesting is that Loco's boss's name is Manuel. And ironically, Manuel's part of Loco's real name also, because the wanted flyer had his real name as Geronimo Manuel Jimenez. Something else to keep in mind is that this is a relatively new boss that has taken over for the cartel since the death of Pablo Escobar. Loco talked to Meech earlier in Season 4 about Pablo's death, and that was the whole reason why they had to change the route to St. Louis on a permanent basis, is because after Pablo's death, they had to start changing things up. So I think part of the reason why Loco wants to expand to Los Angeles is because it will be easier for the cartel to move shipments from Mexico to Los Angeles rather than to St. Louis. But a big benefit in Meech meeting Loco's boss Manuel and getting deeper ties to the cartel is the fact that this serves as an insurance policy if something were to ever happen to Loco, similar to when Cena got arrested in Season 3 and Loco came looking for Meech because both Cena and Ty Washington had said good things to Loco about Meech. But with that said, there's also a major problem brewing for Loco and the cartel that he works for, and that's the fact that they now have problems and have gone to war with a rival cartel. Again, this is likely due to the death of Pablo Escobar and a new rival cartel feeling empowered, and that this will be the perfect time to strike and take over. Then also keep in mind that the routes have changed at this point in time also, and have dried up coming in through Miami from Colombia, and now the routes are coming in through places like Texas and California via Mexico. Because of that, it's most likely a Mexican cartel that's trying to take over, and I believe that the brunt of the war is probably taking place somewhere in northern Mexico. And ultimately, I believe that the rival cartel will win the war and will kill Loco, possibly even his translator Javier and Loco's boss Manuel. And this would leave Meech and Terry and BMF as a whole down and out with no plug to keep business moving. With Meech and Terry hitting rock bottom, a low point that they've never experienced before since getting into the game, pretty much being put out of business with no work and no plug. Because of that, I think Meech will use the last bit of information he had concerning where the work was, with Loco telling Meech about expanding to LA, and his boss Manuel wanted to meet him out there. And Meech will head to LA, most likely at the end of Season 4 at some point, to follow the work. Because in real life, Meech hit a low point around this time when the Colombian route dried up, and he had to go to LA to find the work. In the BMF Blowing Money Fast documentary, Wayne Joyner, who met Meech in LA, said when Meech came to him, he told him that he had been a millionaire a couple times already, but he was f***ed up at the time. And this was around 1996. And they ended up hooking up with the new cartel, getting connected to a guy named Green Eyes Grammatico in 1997. And right now in the BMF Season 4 timeline, we're at the back end of 1995. We also know that in real life, Meech grew his braids out when he went to LA, and there's a couple clips from the trailer from the end of Season 4 with Meech having braids. Now, of course, the writers could change the story a little bit and have Meech go to LA and meet Loco's boss and expand the operation without ever showing the drought. But I don't think they'll do that because this drought was a key point in the real BMF timeline. Not to mention that during droughts, it's the craziest time to be in the game because everybody's moving a lot more desperately, and crime, robberies, murders normally actually increase during droughts also. But the interesting thing about Meech finding a new plug through a new cartel after moving to LA and going through a drought for a year or two is the fact that his new plug and cartel he's going to be getting his product through will most likely be the same cartel that killed Loco, adding an interesting dynamic to Meech working with this new cartel because of his bond with Loco, to the point where Loco even said that him and Dimitri had a closer bond than blood. But at the end of the day, like Meech told Terry after getting bit by the snake in episode 1 and using the voodoo doctor to be brought back to life. He told Terry he's willing to do whatever he has to do to survive this game. Because Loco is Colombian, and when Meech went to LA in 96, he ended up connecting with the cartel ran by El Chapo, which is a Mexican cartel. And we know for a fact that it was El Chapo's cartel that BMF worked for from the Terry Flannery documentary preview video. Right now, Meech's Cali connection is a guy named Mao, who Meech met through Tina at Purdy's album release party. Mao says he sells Cali Kush that goes for $8,000 a pound. So I wonder if Mao is based off the real life person Wayne Joyner, and if Mao is who Meech will connect with when he moves to LA to find work. Because Meech already mentioned to Loco about reaching out to Mao in LA as part of their expansion. But other than Wayne Joyner, who I believe Mao's based on, while Meech is in LA, he'll also meet Blue Da Vinci and the LA Crips and get connected to them as well, including the guy who becomes Meech's bodyguard later on down the line, named Bull. When Meech is in California, we'll also see his clothing style change, going from being flashy, like the way we've seen him dress so far throughout the series, to changing up and switching to a more LA style of clothing. Dickie pants, khaki pants, and t-shirts, like the way Meech was dressed in most pictures after he went to Cali. But when Meech heads to Los Angeles, there's already going to be one big problem waiting for him there, and that's Veronica Jin, Detective Bryant's former partner, who mentioned at the end of season 3 that she was going to transfer to LA to go after some Asian gangs out there. And with that said, I also wonder if Veronica Jin being out in LA going after an Asian gang could possibly be setting the foundation for a new series in the BMF universe, because 50 Cent made a post a couple months ago about making a series based upon the life of the former Chinese kingpin Peter Chin. Either though I believe Peter Chin was based out of New York, Chinatown, and not LA, but at the same time Detective Jin and whatever's going on with the Asian gangs out in LA could set the stage for Peter Chin's introduction in the series 50 Cent posted about that will be based off his life. Meech won't stay in LA too long after 1997 when they get the new plug and start working for the new cartel. Meech will go back home to Atlanta soon after. At that point in time, Terry will start going back and forth from Detroit to LA to oversee the shipments coming in from the port, running the day-to-day operations in LA, before moving to LA on a permanent basis in the year 2000. So with that said, there's still a lot more story to tell, and we're only about halfway through the BMF timeline, being in late 1995, because Meech and Terry didn't get arrested until around 2005. But the show did already show a flash forward scene from 2004 when Meech returned to Detroit, as well as a flash forward scene of Terry getting arrested in St. Louis by Detective Bryant. So I do question how far into the timeline they're going to go, and if they show the same events happening again when they get to that point on the timeline. Because right now the 5th season is still up in the air, because there hasn't been any word whether the show's going to be canceled after season 4 or if it's going to be renewed for season 5. At this point, we still don't know. Either though, like I said, there's still a lot more story to tell, and we're only halfway through the timeline. And there you have it. Leave your thoughts, theories, and predictions in the comments.